I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, but she was also here on our previous meetups and had given us an amazing introduction to what she does and wanted to go in deeper. So Diane, all over to you.
Okay, thank you. Can you all hear me well?
Yes, we
How's
can.
audio? Okay, great. Well, as you can see, this is about the journey, but also some great tips for helping each of you, for those of you who are aspiring to move forward in MuleSoft. But it was all about the journey as well. So my tag name is Digital D, and this is Bits and Bytes of Binary Beginnings. And there is Digital D, recently created avatar for me by a dear friend of mine who's also coming up the ranks in MuleSoft. And so thank you, Angela, for that. Our agenda today is, of course, I'll give a brief introduction. Then we'll look at Digital D through the years and my MuleSoft journey. This is at one of the very first meetups. So for those of you, I understand this was your first meetup, know that it all begins somewhere, and there's a backstory behind this very first meetup, which I'll share on the timeline ahead. And there's my Maveline Mule, or however you want to refer to her. I did put some hair on her. She was on my desk, so had to add her. A little bit about me. I am a MuleSoft administrator, SME, and architect. I'm presently on 2 contracts, one in a federal space, the other in a state government space, and it's been very great to be involved in both of those. I was recently, to my surprise, awarded as for the top in quarter 4 as a pro of the quarter in the MuleSoft community. So that was really exciting, as well as for 2020, I was recognized as a top meetup speaker. Now, I was very driven, and I still am driven, and I will share the why behind that as we proceed further. But there was a reason for the meetups as we went through. I'm fully certified. The API design, when it was a certification, it is a certification now, but it's handled a little differently. And MuleSoft developer, as well as both of the integration and platform architect certifications. And I am presently in the certified MuleSoft instructor program. There's 3 phases to it. I have completed phase 1 with great comments on my ability for teaching, which was it was a very, very enlightening course, and there's 2 more steps to that to complete that process out. So hats off to all of the MuleSoft certified instructors. It is a challenge to do, but with great respect of their abilities and their knowledge and understanding for that. A fun fact about me, I spent 78 days on a cruise ship in 1 year. I won't necessarily tell you, I'll tell you the details of that later. We'll just let it sit as a fun fact. And yes, we were at sea on Carnival Cruise Lines before COVID, thankfully. We were not held at bay on a ship. It was actually wonderful. We took in the Mexican Riviera and Hawaii. So more on that through the story. In my early years, I was really advanced in math. Binary always fascinated me. And in high school, I would always get done with my math assignments beforehand, and I think that he was looking to find something for me to do. And he said, "Hey, there's a digital computer in there. I want you to go in there, and I want you to go program it to do multiplication. No one's ever done that before." And I think I was just getting like out of his hair. So I grabbed hold of that machine. That is a picture of me. And I did do the multiplication. He was quite surprised. And, of course, I had to do presentations back then on how I did that. But you actually did do all of the programming on that panel. It was pretty crazy. So that was the early beginnings of Digital D. It's all in the cards. Then I went into programming, and we were using the card punches. And one card represented a single line of code. So you stacked your program together in one stack. This person only has one rubber band. I bound mine in several rubber bands because if you ever dropped your cards, your whole program was just like all over the floor, out of order. We would feed the cards through a hopper, as you see here. And again, if you had a jam, it ruined your day. It was just a bad thing. Then we got the little teletype thing that would do punches on that ribbon on the left. And so it kind of got a little different through the years, but the card punch thing was for real. We really did program like that. Mainframe, I was a computer operator in a bank. Data entry was people's checks, deposits, and anything relevant to the bank. It was all input through a sorter like that. If you ever had a check, when you used to receive checks by mail after your checks processed, if you ever had one that had an accordion look to it, it was because it jammed in this unit, and it would just totally shut the whole thing down. Fortunately, the reading portion of it, the data input, is at the front end, so most everything got read accurately, but it did jam up and would mess it up, as far as that was concerned. So anyway, data entry. Then I moved into actually being the mainframe operator. And my best friend, I got her the job as the sorter input, and I was the mainframe operator. And we started work at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and worked till the evening to update all of the accounts. So her and I were like pioneers in the IT industry. To the girls doing the updates at night, and the systems were huge. You can see now this printer that in the front center of the picture on the right is a printer. And it, you hear of the green bar paper. Well, that's the paper that we would put in it. And these tape drives were huge. That's like about a 12-inch diameter on that. If you unrolled that, it would be 2,400 feet of tape. It's just under a half a mile, and the megabytes of storage on that is 50 megabytes of storage. But we would have like the name and address file, or um, the accounts file, and all of those were individually put on that tape. And it would also be, like I said, I'd change out the tape drives, get everything running from the main console, would turn around and run the system. So it was quite an experience. Then I moved on into programming. I was a systems analyst on an IBM Series 1, which is the precursor to the AS400 that we have today as far as a mid-sized business system. And I was working on a reservation system. Our disk drives at this point now turned into being more modular disks that could be input. You can see the racks of the disks there. And again, remember, it's all zeros and ones at the bottom level. I just want to keep pointing that out because that has never changed. The reservation system I was working on was a reservation system in the Bahamas. It was not real time yet. It was very close to being real time. And it was in the area where Paradise Island is now. So I stepped away from that job to move into the country because Digital D fell in love. And I met the man of my dreams, and he just swept me off my feet. We moved to the country. A few years later, had 2 children. And I still hung on to my computer skills and my passion there. And I had my very own, this was exactly like the very first computer I ever had, was a Radio Shack Model 4. Yes, the big floppy disks, and the stats on this system, I just have to share with you. My clock speed was 4 megahertz. My present system is 3,600 megahertz. And the RAM, look at the RAM, 64 kilobytes. My present system is 36 gigabytes. So you can kind of tell we've come a long way, baby. One thing that occurred throughout this journey at using that home system, I still integrated, did accounting, did desktop publishing, things of that nature. So I always kind of kept afloat in IT. We got into creative catering. We had small children and they were growing up into being young teens. So I built a business that included family. That was important to me. And, for those of you in a career, you always ask, how can we juggle it all? Well, you just have to kind of encompass your goals, what's important to you and your family. And so we built that out together. So if you ever want to get paid for playing with food, this is a great opportunity. We did weddings, food, cakes, all kinds of different things. Then I jumped into a cosmetic business. I won't go into naming what that business is, but it was a great knowledge and understanding of business course, very comprehensive. John Maxwell, Zig Ziglar. It was quite a period of time of learning to set goals that make you stretch. Actually, some of these goals will make you sick, and you can't look at the big picture. You have to break it down. we used to have a saying, how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time, which I don't know that I'd ever eat an elephant, but you get the idea behind that. And so in that career, I mentored and coached and trained over, oh, well, it was a 10-year period of span there, but we definitely were driven. This company offered free cars. I drove a free company car for 8 years. I did a lot of fundraising events with it, fashion shows, and that really, helped other entities for fundraising ability. And then we also took that career on Carnival. And this is where we were guest lecturers on Carnival. And I was able to, soft market to some of the staff members who could not get cosmetic products. And so that was not my primary goal there, but it was also a mixed blessing to be able to provide some, supplies for some of the girls there. I charged them just above my cost because I wanted to help them out. But it really was a lot of fun. And what I found myself doing there was one of our supplies for our arts and crafts materials. I had to go through a server room to get to our arts and crafts supplies. And you have an epiphany. It's always something that hits you at such a strange time. And I was at a crossroads of whether I'd stay in the cosmetic company or whether, what was next. My husband and I both had talked deeply. What's next? And so there I was in the server room on a Carnival cruise ship going, I think we really need to go back into IT. And so I returned to my passion. I jumped back into IT. I had not completed my bachelor's degree earlier in my career. So I jumped back into college. I started racking it up on upgrading my certifications. I was project manager. I ended up doing all of the security needs and whatnot, and launched a job at our local hospital as a systems administrator, project manager. I handled a lot of the projects, and I had a wonderful relationship with a lot of the physicians and staff as a key go-to person. I was there for about 7 years, and in the midst of it all, I hit a roadblock. I had not finished my bachelor's degree yet, but I was very sick. And by the grace of God, seriously, I had 3 surgeries in 2 years. I knew these doctors face to face. I won't go into detail of the health issues there, but it was critical and life threatening. And they brought me through, and I am so grateful. But there are times when you just have to stop everything in your life and say, what's most important here? For the first time ever, I let go of a goal. I withdrew from college and backed away, took care of health issues, came back with a passion, finished my bachelor's degree in an accelerated pace. But one thing I found in the middle of all this was the fragmented healthcare record. I'm having to carry records from one physician to the next. Now, some of them were all in-house, but I had to go to specialists. So on our mainframe, I had some of my records were digital, but it was on-prem and it was siloed. We had a deprecated database that was printed, we had printed documentation coming out of this deprecated database, PDFs. When I requested records from the medical records department, they had to literally scroll through PDF files to try to locate some of my records. And I was just appalled. I mean, it really hit my heart because not only did I not feel good, but I needed my other physicians and my referrals to get some of this information too. So it just really caught my attention. Of course, there were some of the records that were in, newer cloud-based applications, Athena and Digichart. However, I had to make sure I brought things with me to other appointments. And then in my research, I started my master's degree. And this was such a heavy thing on my heart that I made my master's degree capstone project be about this and the solution. And this is where I found MuleSoft. This was my very first Muley moment. Was like, oh my gosh, this is what MuleSoft can do. It just really impacted me, and I completed my master's degree with this topic, and even several of the IT teachers and instructors at the university were very interested in MuleSoft and what it provided, because especially at that time, New York University had just really done the 360 patient care like you see. And so it was really very timely. And of course, we can't say Muley moment without having Alexandra on here too. This has been my favorite picture of all time, and I just had to share that. That's why I was asking Alexandra if you had seen it beforehand, because this is how I felt. Seriously, I was researching and doing things for my master's degree, and I was like, oh my gosh, it really stops you in your tracks. So, Alexandra, I wanted to include you in. So the journey, my MuleSoft journey. So here we go. Starting off with 2019, I came across a dear friend of mine who is the CEO of Mule Learning. He brought me into his program, Tim Handline, and he just really groomed me and shared with me a lot of his material and taught me. I completed his program that was perfect for me at the time. A lot of it was also used for my capstone for my master's degree. And then from there, I completed my master's degree and graduated in September on a cruise ship, by the way. I did my last few assignments on a cruise ship. Then in November is when I did the API design certification. And my very first meetup that you saw the picture of earlier was, I wasn't planning on presenting, but Tim from Mule Learning had a family emergency. He was supposed to present at the Charlotte meetup, and he called upon me and said, Diane, I need you to step in for me. Okay, so I'm just barely certified, and I was nervous as can be. And at any rate, I just dug in, put a presentation together, and the leaders, the meetup leaders, Sebastian and Arvind, were wonderful to work with as far as guiding me through. It was an on-prem, in other words, we were in a person meetup, and they just made me feel so comfortable. And I just have to say, for my very first meetup, it was such a wonderful experience. And one of the perks, I don't know if you're aware of this, but if you present at a meetup, you do get a MuleSoft instructor-led course. So that became my passion. That became my tuition, if you will. So I'm telling you, if you're asked to present, be sure to follow through with that. Even if it makes you have butterflies, you go for it, because this was like my tuition. Watch how many courses I'm going to take here. 2020, here we go. Because of my ability for instructing and teaching, I also landed a contract with Workforce Opportunity Services. I had 10 programmers out in California that I remotely taught, and they are all certified. I'm just so proud of that group. I hope if you catch this video, you know how much you mean to me. I'm very proud of you all. So that was my very early beginnings of instructing. My very first course that I took was the integration solution course, because I was pretty well understanding the developer course, and I really wanted to get an understanding of the architecture courses there. So I sat for the MuleSoft developer certification, passed the first time. I was just really relieved over that one. I went into it thinking, maybe I won't pass, but I had studied and taught, so that really helps. Then I did the Raleigh meetup in North Carolina. That was also an in-person one, and that was a blast. You'll see some pictures of that meetup later. And then I did the online meetup group with Minnick, and he too is very wonderful. All of the meetup leaders, I don't want to discredit any of them. They're all wonderful to work with. I landed a job with Perspecta, and I'm presently the admin and SME for them in a government space. And then here's my courses. Here we go. Application networks, Ops Cloud Hub. I presented. There were 2 more presentations, and these are all so much fun. Again, the more that you do, the more you'll want to do. So jump in there and get in. And I redid the online meetup because of the MUnit recorder. Most of my meetups have been on MUnit recorder or MUnit, and I added the MUnit recorder to that. It was like a return and a second phase of that one. Yeah, it's really cool stuff. So then again, I did production ready development course because we were on-prem at my one contract. And so I really wanted to grasp that. Again, look at these courses. These instructor-led courses are by far the best. Customer hosted runtime, and the integration solution course with my dear friend, Ryan Haig, who, they always say when the student's ready, the teacher appears. And Ryan resonated and broke a lot of the architecture details down to me. And really had helped me. Yes, she does. Ryan rocks. Check the comments. It is true. Ryan, you are one of the best teachers, I have to say. I hope you're on. If not, you'll catch this later. But great teacher, resonated with me. I ended up, of course, I did a connect remotely as an attendee, but I wanted to throw that in there so that people don't miss the connects. And then completed both architect exams, passed them both. Hats off to instructors on that. Then I was, as you know, recognized as a top Meetup speaker and panelist on one of the first Women Who Mule, Pro of the Quarter, MuleSoft certified instructor, and this presentation too. So, but moving quickly along, this has been the journey. And here's some of the fun pictures from some of those meetups. And I included this video clip here because it's just so cute. This is us. This is us trying to figure out how we can figure out what to do in Mule, you know, what works. And as these little guys are trying to go through, you know, there's always one in a crowd that says, hey, I got a solution. And I've always been told if I have an idea and you have an idea, together we have two ideas that will work. And so you see, this is how we work as a team. And it even gets a back rub on the way out. Just think that's cute. So then keep in touch. I am building out a location where I can put a lot of the things that I have done as far as meetups are concerned, or different solutions on things. So you can catch me on LinkedIn, and I look forward to connecting with you all there. And remember, it still is zeros and ones, even in 2021. And I want to thank you all for all my fellow Muleys and the people who've helped me on this journey. And I look forward to giving back, which is what my passion is giving back to the community. Thank you all. That's it for my presentation.
Oh my God, Diane, that was incredible. And I think everybody loved that video. It was so relatable. Digital snaps, claps, applause. You are such an inspiration. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you. And I encourage others, you know, I mean, this is the thing, you know, God will put a seed in your heart and you just need to seek it out and see what it is. You know, sometimes it's time to deviate off of the path that you had planned. And really it's an element of, you know, being in tune to what he has. And right now I sit in, you know, even on another journey, it's opening the doors for instructing, and with the greatest respect and esteem for the present instructors of MuleSoft and the incredible, the bar of excellence that they have. And I hope to step into that role, you know, as we progress. And I thank you all so much for having me. You all have been wonderful to the MuleSoft community, as well as each of you who are leaders of this meetup group. I applaud you all as well.
Oh,
Diane, if I can just add, I mean, you know, what an amazing, incredible journey. And I mean, just watching your story, just in awe. I mean, it's so awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I also want to acknowledge just that you know, when we started this meetup, I mean, you were one of the first ones to reach out and say, I really want to be part of this. I want to help. I want to, you know, share my experiences and all that. And I absolutely love and appreciate that. So thank you so much. And I hope that encourages others to do the same, right? I mean, that's why we're here as Women Who Mule. We want to provide that support to, you know, anyone else who can, you know, take some lessons from that. So thank you again, Diane, really amazing.
My pleasure. Thank you. And thank you really for you all stepping up, pulling this together. And again, like I said, the more we can do together as a team, you know, the stronger we all are and can share and help one another succeed. My pleasure. Thank you.